Hi everyone, it's Hatsy and I'm back with another building tutorial. So today I thought I would do a roofing tutorial because on the last tutorial, how many times do I need to say tutorial? I don't know. The last one I did though, I got so many requests to do roofing. So I thought, okay, I'm going to come back and I'm going to have a go doing a roofing video. So to begin with, it really does depend on the build that you are currently working on, but I'm just going to say we're going to be building a family house, and the reason is because that's the most, basic thing to build in The Sims 4. There's no point me giving you like a rocket roofing tutorial if you're never going to use it. But what I've done here is I've just built a very basic shape of a house. So I never start with like a box or anything like that. I really do try and make a weird, unusual shape. And that does consist of just some layers in that as well. Like there will be a second floor, and then in some parts the house will just be on the first floor. So also what I'm going to do is I'm going to include a side roof because they look really interesting, and I genuinely think that a lot of people do actually underestimate side roofing, and it's actually really complicated as well. So, well, I say really complicated. As far as roofing goes, side roofing isn't the easiest to get. Okay, so now we've got like the basic build. I don't know how well this house is going to turn out, but I just say start with a shape randomly, like this. Basic shape of a build. I've got some roofs here to show you the ones that I'm using for it, and I actually want to start with a diagonal one because that's pretty tricky. Okay. So I'm going to use this gabled roof diagonal piece to go on the end here. So I do readjust the roofing a little bit. I don't do it excessively. I mean, if I was doing, what's his name, Gru's house from Despicable Me, or, something like that, then yeah, he'd probably have like a really high roof, or, whatever build has like a high roof. I don't know. That's the first one that I can think of. But yeah, I think for this house, I don't want it too animated looking. I think that's fine. Another thing that you can do is you can play around with this here, so you can like sort of mess around with how far up or down it goes. I actually like to have it quite far up a lot of the time because it looks neater. I think for a suburban house this looks better. If you wanted to go for like a Tudor, then maybe a slightly more curved roof, and that just my personal opinion. You don't have to listen. But there we go. So then what I like to do is to fill in this space over here, because we're going to do the ground floor first. I'm going to use this piece. So this is called a half-hipped roof. And because I don't need to use the diagonal version of this, it's going to be super easy to apply. And what I do here is, because you will notice that if you are using this upstairs floor, let's say, in fact, it's probably a good idea to make this a room, just so you've got extra space. Makes sense. Yeah, roofing's not the best in The Sims 4 at the moment, so you may want to move this down a little bit. If you want to have more freedom with roofing, then what you can do is you can actually press Alt to bring it down more, if that makes sense. You've got more control over it. You can really put it anywhere, as opposed to doing it in quite a choppy way. So Alt really helps, and that means that you can make it as close to the wall as possible without it going over, so you can have that. So yeah, it just looks neater, and I think if you're creating a house that you want to use in your gameplay, then that's a really good idea. So what I did here, I did the same again. You can duplicate it, which is really easy, or like copy it, whatever, and place it down. So I just brought it down because that looks okay to me. I mean, that looks pretty neat, or as neat as we're going to get it. Really, you could probably do more with it. I mean, it really does just depend on how you want your build to look. You could probably have a roof like that on the back of it if you wanted to. It really just depends. If you do have issues with roofs sticking through, you have a few options. You could bring this wall down like that, or you could bring that one up or whatever. But yeah, okay, we'll leave it like that. I mean, that looks okay to begin with. So okay, now going to just finish off this side. I'm actually going to carry on using the half-hipped roof just because I feel like it, but it really is just a matter of choosing the roof pieces that you think are going to look the best. You don't have to use these. You can really play around with it, and that's what I do. Some builds I will use a lot of the gabled roof ones, and then some I will use a lot of the half hipped. I think it's because I just always used to use them. So now it's kind of stuck in my head a bit. But yeah, it's coming on quite nicely. Okay, so I'm going to try and use all the roofs in this build. So what would I use a roof like this for? This is a half gabled roof. I would use this for an overhang. So if I wanted to have like a really fancy decking area here for the build, let's just say I wanted this to come out and I wanted like a decking area for the family or something. Okay, I would use a roof like this. And then I would create a decking. I don't know how good this is going to look. In fact, I probably haven't planned this out properly. But I think you can kind of imagine how this could look if I had planned ahead. In fact, maybe I put it on the wrong side, to be fair. Maybe it would look better on that side. Actually, I don't know. I'm going to bring it in a little bit. Okay, there we go. That looks okay, I think. Yeah, I don't want it to look too messy. But that is fine. The only problem with mixing this sort of roof with the half gabled roof, the fact that it doesn't meet always in the right place. But you know, I'm sure you can sort that out if you have like spent a lot more time on it. Then we could probably find a solution. And yeah, so this is what we've got so far. Now I think what I am going to do is I'm probably going to add a diagonal roof round here because I do actually want to use this in the build somewhere. That looks pretty cool. You know, I think here we're going for like a modern sort of suburban house. But, you know, if I was going to start creating, let's say, a Tudor home, then maybe everything would look completely different. I actually really like that side there. So I might keep it. Okay, so where would I use a roof like this? I would use a roof like this on top of the build. And that is because if I use a half gabled roof, that would look a bit crazy. However, what I do sometimes is, well, we can do a lot here actually because you really can just play around with the roofs. I like to layer a lot of roofs on top of each other and stuff like that, and I've seen other people do it as well. And I do this because roofs are actually free in The Sims 4. So I think one of the best building tips I could probably give you is if you're trying to go for like a budget house, use as many roofs, like as many complicated roofs as possible, because the more complicated it looks, the better. Honestly, I think so anyway. Yeah, I mean, just playing around with it, I don't really like how it's so small here in the middle. I'm actually going to extend the house a bit. I think I'm going to pull it out a bit. So I'm going to just make sure that there's more going on up here. I might even duplicate that space. Okay, so I've just got rid of that roof, which was there. I think having a build that's slightly larger on top may be good. I'm actually starting to fall in love with this build. Hey, it's got some great potential. Okay, what would I use on top of here? Well, you have a few options. You could use one of these. You know, again, it depends what you're going for. I think, actually, I kind of like how that looks, but I'll show you how the top would look with a different roof. Yeah, it's really getting like a nice balance. I think it's kind of turning into more of a modern build, and I think that's quite a nice thing at the same time. So yeah, if I wanted to make it look more suburban, in fact, that looks pretty cool, just like that. I don't know, it just looks different, doesn't it? The hipped roofs make it look more suburban, in my opinion, and I think including loads of the gabled roofs make it look more modern. So yeah, I mean, that's the best sort of roofing tip I can give you. It really is just a matter of experimenting. I think the only thing that I do want to do with this build is make it a little bit bigger because I think it's quite thin. Yeah, that's the only thing. So if I was going to extend it out a little bit, I don't really focus on the back a lot. And that is because I don't really find the back a very important part of the build. And also, a lot of the time, the backs of houses are quite ugly. I don't know, I've noticed that myself. So because it's a roofing tutorial, we are going to change the colour just slightly. I'm not going to paint the house just yet. But I think we're going to go for like... Oh, that's a pretty interesting colour. I like that for modern builds, to be fair. Yeah, I think I'm going to go for a black roof on the house. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to change some of the actual colours on the build round when it comes to it. Yeah, that looks pretty interesting, to be fair. It's kind of looking a bit recycled, and sometimes I like that effect. Okay, roof trimmings. a lot of people forget about these, but honestly, they make a build for me, I swear. For a suburban house, I will use this roof trimming, and you can actually have it round the bottom as well. So remember that. That could be a really useful tip. Sometimes it can look a bit too animated though if you have like it on the whole build. So what I sometimes do is I sometimes have it on just some pieces, and then on others I will have a smaller roof trim. So yeah, it's not like the biggest thing I can talk about, honestly. It's not like the most exciting thing ever, but it is something to remember if you are like wanting to create some really cool houses, you know, things like that. And yeah, because it's a roofing tutorial, just going over the fact that you can have a third floor if you want to. It's a shame that we don't get a modern version of this, what I'm looking at now. I mean, they're quite, well, these both come with packs. So this comes with Get Together, that comes with The Sims 4 Vampires. However, it is a shame that we don't have like a modern window that you can place on builds. I'd really like that actually. But if you did want to create a little bit more, I don't know what to call it, like dimension to a build, if you wanted to make it look a little bit more decorative, like it's a bit bigger than it actually is, then you could add a third floor, which I sometimes do, but I think with this house I'm actually kind of happy with it being the size that it is. Or actually maybe I'll keep that in. Yeah, I don't know, maybe I'll just change the roof trim though and just make it a little bit smaller. So yeah, I mean, this is just a basic guide to how I'm doing it. And also with Chimneys, I really like Chimneys because it does actually, you know, make it look a little bit more realistic, having one in. I think one on the side like that looks pretty interesting. So yeah, you can also add these little, what do you call them? Like little bits on top of the build, but because it's a modern build, I don't want to do that. If you did want me to do a castle roofing tutorial, then let me know, because I could. It would be entirely different to this, like entirely, with like loads of these little decorative pieces and different roofs, stuff like that. But I think we really covered the basics, you know, if you are just looking for a family house. Watch out for this house though, because it will be coming up as a speed build, because I'm going to finish it off now and then probably put it on the Sims 4 gallery. Thanks so much for watching this tutorial. I hope it helped, and if you have any other ideas for future ones, please let me know, and I'll see you on the next video.